Hello, and thank you for taking the time to watch one of our quick help videos. Prior to watching this video, it is very important that you watch the Import Utilities Overview video first. As mentioned in the overview video, it is very important to make a backup of the database prior to performing any imports of data. Please refer to the video on performing a CA4K backup. In this video, we will be providing detailed information on the Import-Export utility. This utility can be found under Reports. This utility replaced the very popular Import 3000 utility in the Card Access 3000 software. In this video, we will be discussing the import portion of this utility. This utility also contains an export of events that will not be covered in this video. Again, this Import-Export utility can be found under Reports. Unlike the data pump and import personnel utilities, there is no template for this utility. While using this utility, the fields in the import file can be in any order, since you manually map the fields in the import file to the fields in the utility. Very important. Prior to importing a file with many records, it is always recommended to create a small test file to import. The test file can be a Notepad text file containing only 3 or 4 records. Doing this small and quick import as a test will prevent any catastrophic errors from occurring while importing a large file with many records. Creating this test file is very easy and takes only a minute and is also covered in the Import Utilities Overview video. Another option is to make a copy of your complete import file and remove all records except the first couple. Then use this file as a test. Before we discuss the Import-Export utility, let's briefly discuss the data types the Import-Export file can contain. Many fields in an import file are Boolean fields. The most common syntax for a Boolean field is a 0 or a 1. It can also be false or true. The next data type in the CA4K is date-time field. The syntax for the date-time field is displayed on the screen and is the date followed by 1 space and then the time. In the CA4K, the time is only hourly and not minutes. Next, launch the CA4K software. Log into the CA4K software. Upon logging into the CA4K software, a Reports icon will display on the main toolbar. Next, click Reports. Upon clicking the Reports icon, a list of reports will display. Next, click the Import-Export utility in the Reports list. This is the screen we will be discussing. On the top, the first field we will discuss is the field separator character. This field defaults to a comma, but you do have the option to change it. Next is the Select File Name button. Click this button to navigate and select the import file. For our demonstration, we will select a file with 4 records in it. Next, there is a batch mode. If you need to batch in a range of badges, it is recommended to use the Batch Modify utility in Personnel. We will not be demonstrating this function. Below the batch function are 3 columns. The first column is the field name. The second column is the column field. The column field is where you place the column number of the physical position in the import data file. By popular demand, these fields will populate with the previous used field numbers, so you do not have to keep configuring them. The third column name is the default value field. This is where you can specify default values for each field. Some commonly used default values are the checkbox selections for Enabled, Stay on Panel, and Initial Download. In the CA4K, these are selected by default when you create a new badge. In most cases, you want to default these checkboxes to Selected. This is done by checking the checkboxes in the Default Values column. Next, we will be using a test import file that contains a last name, first name, badge number, Facility and Access Group 1. If you are specifying a facility code other than 0 or an access group, they should be configured in the software. Next, map the field column numbers to the physical position in the import data file. For our demonstration, Field 1 is the last name, Field 2 is the first name, and Field 3 is the badge number. If you do not specify a facility code, the import-export utility will default it to 0. For our demonstration, we will map Facility to Field 4. Next, we need to click the Access Groups tab. We need to set Access Group 1 to Column 5. Next, click back to the General tab. As previously noted, the column numbers were also populated from the last time the utility was executed. Next, click the Execute button. Next, an Import Finished message box will display. The message will display 4 records added or modified. Included in the message is the path to the log file. The log file will display all errors if there was any. In addition to viewing the log file, you should also open Personnel and verify the records were imported. Verify the 4 badges were imported properly. Take notice that the Enabled, Stay on Panel and Initial Download checkboxes are selected. Next, click the Access Groups tab. Verify Access Group 1 was configured as per the field in the import file. For our demonstration, we only populated Access Group 1. Summary. Prior to executing the import, perform a test with an import file containing only a few records in it. Verify the import file has no undesirable characters in it, including spaces, headers, or column names. Verify there is no delimiter after the last field on each record. While creating the file, you must press Enter after the last field. Next, remember to set default values if you choose to. This eliminates specifying the fields in the import file. A good example is the Enabled, Stay on Panel, and Initial Download checkbox selections. Next, after the import is complete, always view the log file for any errors. Next, always launch Personnel and verify the badge records were added properly. Next, if you are specifying facility codes and access groups in the import file, they must be created in the CA4K software prior to importing the file. This concludes this quick help video on the import-export utility in the CA4K software. In addition to this video, please refer to the CA4K help file for additional information on the import-export utility. The CA4K help file can be accessed by clicking Help and Help on the main menu in the CA4K software. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video.